Hi, everybody, and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles, and on this episode, we're walking in Memphis. The topic of this Walking in Memphis, CWA Wrestling from January 25th, 1986. Before we get into the review, if you want to watch the video that I am reviewing this for, there will be a link in the description. I highly recommend pausing this, going and watching that, and then coming back to the review, or if you don't care about spoilers, watching the review and then going back to the video. With that being said, if you haven't seen any of my shows before, I grade everything on a 1 to 5 scale, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. Let's jump right into this. We open up the show with Lance Russell and Dave Brown at the control desk, or the desk there to start off. They go immediately to commercial. Coming back from commercial, we get Larry Hamilton, who's debuting, versus the Invader. And no, this is not the Invader from Puerto Rico, so it's not the problematic guy. It's a different wrestler in an Invader mask. This was an okay match, a good way to showcase a new talent. He had a good match here. Larry Hamilton does pick up the win. I'm going to give this one a 3. I thought it was a good segment. Now, before we go into next, I did forget to mention in the beginning as well, we rate everything by the segment, basically commercial to commercial, because they jam a lot in there, and if not, I'd be stuck rating everything and giving a bunch of ratings. And if it's a match that goes through the commercial or a promo that goes through the commercial, we still consider that one segment. That being said, we get a local promos for Buddy Landell, Bill Dundee, Dutch Mantel, and Jonathan Boyd. Jonathan Boyd, half of the Sheep Herders at this point. Not the Luke and Butch version. This is him and Rip Morgan, who we're going to see later. This is cool. I liked how they did this, because you'd have a wrestler come in from the left and then a wrestler come in from the right-hand side, and they would alternate back and forth, and they were quick. It was like little 20-second promos that they were doing, or little 30 seconds max. Really good. I mean, you have 3 guys that are awesome talkers. Jonathan Boyd make that 4. Boyd, not known as much as the others as being a great talker. This is a cool little piece of business. I did enjoy this, so I'm going to give that a 5. Coming from that, we get the Fantastics, which is Bobby Fulton and Tommy Rogers versus Tony Falk and Pat Rose. I had to stop a minute there and couldn't think of Tommy Rogers' first name. Again, another really good match. This is probably my favorite match of the card. Fantastics are amazing. They're a great tag team. Kind of get lost in the shuffle between the Fabulous Ones, the Rock and Roll Express, the Midnight Express, the different tag teams that wrestled in Memphis. But to me, the Fantastics were right up there with them. I think they're a great tag team. I enjoyed everything they did. This was probably my favorite match of the card. The Fantastics do pick up the win here. Afterwards, they go over to the table to do an interview. They start an interview talking about winning a date with the Fantastics, which brings out Buddy Landell, who also has a similar thing going on to win a date with Buddy Landell, where you could write into the studio to get that. That leads us into Jonathan Boyd coming out with Rip Morgan, and I believe the other guy who I don't remember, I believe they said his name was Puma, that attacked the Fantastics, which obviously the Sheep Herders and the Fantastics had one of the historic feuds of this generation, of this time frame. All that between the match and the afterwards, I'm giving that all a 5 as well. I thought it was fantastic. No pun intended. Next up, we get a match with Billy Travis and David Haskins going up against Dutch Mantel and Buddy Landell. I really like this. I've said this before on my reviews of these Memphis shows. Dutch Mantel is, if not my favorite, one of my 2 or 3 favorite Memphis wrestlers. Him and Eddie Gilbert are right up there at the top as people I enjoyed. And don't get me wrong, I love Dundee and Lawler, but the guys that really spoke to me were Dutch and Eddie Gilbert. No knock on the other guys, they're all fantastic. this was a good tag team match, a really good match. Obviously, Dutch Mantel and Buddy Landell pick up the win. I'm giving this one a 4. I thought it was rather good. Coming from that, we get a match with Keith Eric versus Dirty Rhodes, which, if you don't remember Dirty Rhodes, he was a play off of Dusty Rhodes, a wrestler that looked similar to him. This was this wasn't a good match. There's no other way to say it. Dirty Rhodes does pick up the win. I'm going to give this match a 2. It wasn't totally terrible, where it'd be one of the worst matches I've ever seen, but it's not good either. This is not what I would expect from CWA, especially in 1986. The talent on the roster is way better than what you're seeing here, and Keith Eric, who I've seen a lot of other things, I like him a lot better than I have here, so again, just a 2 for me. Coming from that, we get an interview with Rick Casey, talking about, I believe, Buddy Landell and challenging for the title again. Dutch Mantel he was talking about. One or the other, he may have been talking about both. After that, we get a video segment with highlights of Bill Dundee that has the song Bad to the Bone by George Thorogood playing, which probably every wrestling promotion in America at the time used Bad to the Bone at some point to highlight one of their wrestlers. I love these segments. I think they're fantastic. Again, I'm using that I'm using fantastic again and again, and it's probably because they wrestled during the match, so I've got that in my lexicon for the show. It was a great little promo package. Bill Dundee's a fantastic wrestler, so highlighting him, obviously you're going to see the best of one of the best wrestlers they have. Going from that, we get the final match of the show and the final segment, which we're going to include that all into one thing. Bill Dundee versus a very young Tracy Smothers. This again was another fantastic match. Smothers would go on to be a fantastic wrestler in his own right. Dundee, hell of a wrestler during this time frame. I thought this was great. Dundee picks up the win by hitting Smothers with a brass knuckles. I forgot to mention there, I left it out, and you'll see it, I'm going to put it here, but in the grand scheme of things, back when there was a Coco Beware interview before, there's Coco Beware interview somewhere in there. I think it was right before the Dundee promo package, because Coco and Dundee are going to be wrestling in a barbed wire match. That's what I was wanting to get at, and I forget where it is on the card because I unfortunately I forgot to put it on my review board here, but there is a Coco Beware promo. Anyway, the match I'm giving a 5. The Coco promo was really good. I'm going to give that a 4. And I'll insert. Well, I'm not going to insert it back where it should have been, but just know that out of order, there was a Coco promo as well. Overall, I'm going to give the show a 4. A lot to really enjoy on the show. Couple low spots. Keith Eric versus Dirty Rhodes is probably the lowest spot of the card. The first match, Larry Hamilton versus the Invader, is kind of ho-hum. Other than that, a really solid show. Now, before I do go off, I want to make mention of this. I'm mentioning this on all of my shows this week. Starting this weekend, Saturday or Sunday, we're going to have a change in the schedule on my releases for my videos. So my New Japan Strong review, that is going to come up every Saturday, late every Saturday or Sunday, either right after I watch the show or Sunday, depending on what's going on Saturday. If there's a wrestling event that's happening Saturday live, like SummerSlam just happened on a Saturday, or AEW runs a pay-per-view on a Saturday, that's going to take precedence over the Strong show because Strong is a tape show, and I want to review the live show before we go to the tape show, so Strong will be pushed off to the next day at that point. So if that makes sense, you're going to get Strong on either Saturday or Sunday. Then my It Came From the Network shows are going to move to Wednesday. Wrestling in Memphis, this show here, which normally I put out on Wednesdays now, is going to move to Thursdays. And my top 10s, which normally I put out on Wednesdays as well, they're going to move to Fridays. The reason for this, I want to give more of a spread between the videos I do. Usually I drop 2 videos on Wednesday, 2 videos on Friday, 2 videos on Sunday, and then other shows sprinkled in, other things sprinkled in with that. I want to split it up more. I want it to be where it's not that you get a dump of a bunch of videos on one day. I'm still going to record them at the same time. I'm just going to release them differently. I think it'll be better for you, the viewers and my friends out there, because I think it won't be an hour's worth of content dropping one day. It'll be 20 minutes here, 20 minutes here, 10 minutes here. Same with me. I think it'll benefit my channel as well. I think the algorithms on YouTube are going to go better when it's seeing more days that I'm releasing on them. I think it's going to drive the viewership up, going to drive subscribers up, which ultimately is going to help me to get monetized, which ultimately will help me get better equipment. Right now I want to get a better microphone. That is my next project. That is the next thing I'm getting to improve this channel. Better lighting is coming as well. I don't like my lighting right now. It's not as glaring a problem to me as a microphone, so we're doing them in order of my importance. So that's one of the reasons why I want to get monetized, is so I can make improvements to the show, maybe get some better editing software down the line. All that being said, I just wanted to get it out there that Strong is going to be on Saturday or Sunday. It Came From the Network on Wednesday. Walking in Memphis on Thursday. Top 10s on Friday. With all that being said, please smash that like button, share, subscribe, which is why we're doing that, to help subscribers get up. And if you made it all the way to the end, let's put Nature Boy in the comments for Buddy Landell, the less famous Nature Boy from the 80s, even though Buddy is a fantastic wrestler himself. All that being said, my name is George Coles, and we've been Walking in Memphis.